Hi everyone, welcome back. Today's focus should be on this Kawasaki er5. I'm going to try and spend a few hours on this one, seeing what we can do. However, I do need to spend some time on the CAF, but this is the focus of this video, this is the focus of today. Somebody commented on one of yesterday's videos about me test riding bikes on the public road with no MOT and not being safe. That's not true. This whole estate that I live on is private. All the roads within the estate are private. So I do my very short, 30-second test runs up and down a private estate roads. If I ever do ride the bikes to MOT, which I do sometimes, I insure them. Okay? But the main thing is, if anybody's challenging anything on this channel, then don't do it kind of publicly, really. I mean, I can defend myself always, but I have Instagram, I have Facebook. Send me a message, and I can then answer you, and then you don't look stupid. So yeah, there's a bit of a rant there. Always open to constructive criticism, but trying to out me publicly on YouTube is silly, especially when I don't actually do anything wrong. I collect and drop most of my bikes off using fans. I hire fans. I'm still a non-profit YouTube channel. I don't make profit from YouTube. I don't make profit from the bikes. Any profit I do make goes into the next bike, and then the next one, and then bikes like this where I offer free servicing, free MOTs and stuff like that. So it's all about charity, although I don't want people thinking of themselves as charity, if that makes sense. So I want to try and work on this one today. I've got the battery down here. My new charger says it's looking good, so it may or may not. You can't trust that. I'm just going to quickly recap with the CAF today, kind of what I've done. Now look at the rear stance of the bike. Them shocks are 32 centimeters long, and they're black. I have ordered some 37 centimeter long ones in silver. So the back of the bike between here and here is going to go up 5 centimeters, and that will make a dramatic difference. I'm going to order some jets off Jake if he actually messages me back at any point, because I don't want to pay his eBay prices, although they are fair prices, but we're best buddies, I should get a discount. So I've ordered the rear shocks. I will be ordering some down jets. I think I'm going to go 115 and 120 just to see if it makes a difference. I have got an airbox coming. I'm going to be trimming down the seat just at the front, making sure that fits nicely, because that just needs to be full time. I need to find the relay on this bike for the indicators, check if it's 2-pin or 3-pin, and order an LED one. I need to order a new set of indicators. Someone said these are like buoyancy aids. They are. They're like floating devices. That was a fair comment, guys. I can't think what else. Yes, I need to order fork seals and oil, although, if I'm being honest, I'm going to talk to my guys at the MOT place. I'm going to ask them to do it, see what it costs, because there's some jobs I just hate doing, and upright fork seals I hate doing. I can do upside down ones because they just slide out. Upright ones are just a bit of a pain. Today I need to see if there is any adjustment left in this rear brake. If there is, normally you have a wear indicator on some bikes. There's not one here. So I need to see if I can get this rear brake engaging. If not, then it needs new pads, new shoes. And what else? That's kind of it for this bike. Do you think this bike will start? There's no signs of any fluid leaks. There's no sign of any oil leaks or petrol leaks. So I think the majority of the work's okay. Let's see if it starts. Oil. That's right. I need to order some nice oil. I'm going to check in there. I might have some left. Jake left some from the GSXR. I'll have a little look. Contemplating the side panels. Oh, excuse me. I think silver brushed aluminium would look really good there. And we've got the mounting points, and we can use we can mount here and here, and we can use cable ties here. And I just think it will look less like a stripped down bike and more like a custom bike. We'll see. We'll have to see about that one. So yeah, there's the cab. Also, I was considering if, let me show you the stance of this. I think it sits too high. The front light, I think it sits too high. What I was considering was dropping it all a touch. So the back end's going to come up 5 centimeters. And then I kind of want this to come down a few centimeters just for that flow. Yes, if that makes sense. Keep the comments coming. This is one of the most exciting projects. I think I'm gonna gloss black the tank, gloss black the rear seat unit eventually, you know, in the end. And I'm gonna attempt some sort of fuel-proof lacquer, although they're rubbish. I've used them in the past. They're not. They're kind of fuel resistant, barely. You have to wipe them immediately. But you know what? We need to do the best by this bike. Nat said to wrap it. You know what? Nat could be right on this one. It's a very flat surface. Even if I did like a gloss black or a carbon or a silver just here on the top, I will. I'm gonna consider that one actually. Nat, that's a good call. And then I can leave these sides black, can't I? So maybe we'll have the brushed aluminium look there. Maybe some brushed aluminium look there on wrap. Silver rear shocks. The rest can kind of stay the same. Keep your comments coming. Keep your ideas. I'm in Islington. If people want to ever visit or help or have a bike that they need working on, contact me through Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, and we can work that out. Obviously, the COVID stuff is a little bit more dodgy at the moment, but at the moment, to be fair, we can do distancing, safe distancing here. There's loads of space. This is my area. Again, this area is private, as are all the roads around, and we can work all that out. So, without delay, let's get the er5 over, and let's see what we're working with. On first quick inspection, the fuel tank's completely dry and doesn't smell bad. That could be a great sign. That could mean it's been more dry stored. If it ran out of fuel that time, then the carbs will be dry basically, and it'll be much easier. I'm still going to pop them and clean them because we need to look at them, see what's going on, see what the connections are like. But the tank being dry is a good sign, as long as obviously there isn't a hole in the tank anywhere and it's not leaking. So that's a good start. First thing I'm going to do is throw some air in these tyres just with the foot pump, and get it pushable. See if we can push it a bit better. And then I'm going to just start stripping it. So we're stripped off now. The fuel line was rock solid. The fuel line's had it on that bike. It actually snaps in your hand. Here's the fuel line. Look at the cracks. Look at that, you snap it. So it's gone. I've got enough fuel line to change that. Well worth doing. Next step here is popping the airbox off, and then obviously doing the quick carb clean, or actually the thorough carb clean. Or no, we do need to do that because we need to put the new fuel line in anyway. What I'm gonna do is, I am gonna do that, makes sense. Okay, so airbox off, it'll probably be easier. So you have to undo this bracket here. easier to undo the whole bracket, take it off, and then the airbox will slide up. Make sure you WD-40 everywhere. I'm running a bit low, I'm going to grab some in a little while. Also, the most dangerous part of this bike is the spiders. Look at the size of that web. Oh my god. So, where are we? So, okay, yes, airbox out and off. Carb clean. Go and get some fuel, come back, attach your battery, fire it up. I mean, it's not that easy, it's never that easy, but it'll be kind of something along them lines. And then over the next week we can look at kind of more important bits, braking, rust, cooling and stuff like that. So good news and bad news. Good news is the airbox came off easily. Bad news is the airbox came off easily. I'm going to use this time, I'm going to go and get some more WD-40 and food, and I might as well pick up some fuel while I'm down there, because actually it's going quite quick at the moment. I'm close to popping these carbs off. I watched Nat's video this morning on the ZL600 and he reminds me of stuff that I forget to do. Check the slides. They're fine actually. You hear that suction noise? And they pop back down well. So that's absolutely fine. Definitely going to pop them, definitely going to give them a clean. Definitely going to... Well, what happens then is I need to run a tank, probably an external tank, and look into then what the electrical issue was. I'm going to cut and get rid of any switches on the bike. Clutch switch is the main one if it's being temperamental, and just wire it up full time. If we're lucky, it'll be plug and play, plug the battery back in. The air filter's brand new. This must have been serviced just before it went down. Oh, I thought I was looking on camera there. There's absolutely no black, no smoke, nothing in there. It's brand new. So it had some sort of service. I'll check the oil, but I'm not going to keep the oil after 4 years of sitting, especially when it's overflowed. It needs cleaning. I'm going to absolutely cake the chain in WD when I get a new one, because that chain at the moment is unusable, but we might be able to free it all up. If we're very, very lucky, we can free up every link, clean it right up, and it will look and run new again. Okay, so here are the carbs, right? Now, don't do anything dramatic here. It's really tempting to take every single line off and, you know, all the cooling hoses. Don't bother. Like this, get it to a nice area like this. These bolts will be a right pain. I've sprayed the other sides through with WD-40. Give that a minute to penetrate. Take the bowls off like this, one at a time, to give the carbs a clean. Once you've done that, switch it around, chuck them straight back in, hook it all back up. That job is done. There's nothing left to do there. The carbs are clean. If the carbs are clean and ready, they can go on, they can stay on. That will be fine. That's exactly how it's meant to be. Now, I need to work out the whole fueling system. This bottom one definitely goes to the petrol tank. So I'm going to swap that over in a minute, make sure that's all sorted. But that top one's been broke a long time, so I don't even know where that went. It definitely wasn't attached to the tank. Now this actually is the fuel line, so I don't know where that one goes. Unless that one goes... I mean, that one's bound to go to probably down there. So we need to kind of work all this out, because this is where we had trouble on the old GS500, didn't we? So the top two lines, one goes to the tank. I believe this fuel line goes down to there. I believe that's kind of set. And this one goes to the fuel tank, so it goes down the fuel tank, down there, up into the engine from there. We need to work out what that one is. That should probably be a vacuum pipe, I would have thought. But we'll switch all these up and we'll put new ones on just to make sure it's all kind of good and ready to go. Biggest problems you're going to have taking these float bolts off is the bolts will round off. I suggest you put a screwdriver on a ratchet system on here. Be extremely gentle when turning it, and if you can't get them undone with the screwdriver or ratchet screwdriver, then the big grips has always done it for me. Big pair of grips. You grip it and you turn it, and then they always come off properly. So I'm going to do that now off camera. You don't need to see me taking 8 screws out, and then I'll show you the insides. We'll see if they're caked or if they're clean. My guess at this stage is they're quite clean because there was no fuel in there. So everyone, these carbs are not dirty. They're not dirty at all. Somehow it's been dry stored, somehow it ran out of fuel, whether it leaked or was driven out of fuel. They're dry stored, saying that they stink of varnish, so they definitely need a clean, but they're not dirty or messy. They're not unusable at all, which is great news. So quick clean like normal, go through all the channels, let it all seep down, throw the bowl back on, and we're good to go on this one. They don't need much at all. We had to take the carbs off anyway for all these fuel pipes because they're all wrecked. To show you this, guys. So what on earth? Look at the colour. That's green. I've seen crusty. I've never seen a green. Look at that. It's got weird deposits on it. It's all green. I think someone flushed through like a carb cleaner or something, but it's gone against this one. This one's going to need a more thorough clean. You can smell it. Oh, it's so weird. It's really varnished. That is varnish. Whatever fuel this is, that is the fuel, and it's, wow, it is pure varnish. That's unbelievable. Lucky, you know, it's so tempting sometimes. You take off one carb and you think, oh, it's spotless, I'll just quickly blitz through the other one. You always get one carb worse than the others. Always do all of them. You'd be absolutely nuts not to. And that shows you that whatever these green deposits are, it needs thorough cleaning, this carb, and I'm going to make sure I do that. So I'm just going to show you something. The return throttle cable, so there's a second return cable for safety reasons, isn't there? Wasn't connected at all, which is okay. The problem is it was hanging down and interrupting with the normal cable. So I've connected it up, and watch what happens. So the return cable is ruining the system and not helping it return. Now, you'll definitely be better off taking this off for now, but I'm not happy having it hang loose when it's so close to the actual mechanism. So I'm going to completely remove it and cable tie it somewhere up here. It can obviously be put back on in the future. These cables, for anyone who doesn't know, were put on in case these springs snapped. If these springs snapped, then the throttle could stay open. But honestly, if the throttles are so much smoother without the return cables on, in my experience. And if your throttle, you know, if your spring snapped, turn the bloody ignition switch off and manage your bike. What's more, or just as dangerous actually, not more dangerous though, is having something in the way of your throttle, because you won't necessarily hear or see or feel that anything has snapped, and it will get caught and you'll be wide open throttle or half open throttle, and again you'd have to turn the switch off. So I'm going to do exactly what I said. I'm going to remove this and I'm going to disconnect it completely and cable tie it somewhere right out of the way so it's safe. It's on video, so Auntie knows. I'm so sorry, I should have got your name. Rob's auntie knows that the return cable is not connected. She is an old biker though, so she knows the game. These return cables are regularly taken off, and people aren't that fussed. I take them off most of my bikes when they're causing more problems like this one is. So that's what I'm going to do. In fact, I'll show you the throttle action now. Watch this. Look. Normal. Okay, that's exactly what you want and what you need. So the concern here is how it was. If you look, it's too close to the mechanism. So I want to make sure it's not, doesn't get trapped. All right. Grab jab. Okay, so I've been kind of fluffing around for a bit because I wanted to get the new fuel pipes right, and I stuck in these ones, but they're 5.6 inner, and I wasn't happy with that. These are bigger, these are 7 inner. So all of the fuel pipes, this one here, the main fuel pipe to the pump, and the 2 to the tank are brand new, and that is exactly what's needed at this stage because the others were terrible. Next step is to get the airbox back on. Airbox goes back on and get it secured. Once it's on and secure, we're kind of back at stage 1. We're back at the beginning. We're back at the original problem. Remember, this bike stopped running because of electrical faults. So after 4 years, I'm going to clean all connectors anyway. I'm going to disconnect the clutch switch and I trust it to be a triple, or just clean it, I don't know, for now, and see where we go with that. It will normally be touch 2 to get it going. It's what 2 you have to work out, and then it'll be normal kind of check lights, check indicators, check this. God, look at me jumping ahead, assuming it will just fire up. Check clutch and gearbox, get that chain cleaned and greased and loosened, and I mean, I'm saying this stuff because I do think it will fire. I just think the work's been done carb wise. The fuel tank was dry, the varnish has been cleaned, the air filter's brand new, the lady had that herself. So actually the bike's been looked after. It's just been sitting for 4 years. So as long as the electrical issue is something simple like the clutch switch, it may not have been, it could be something else, it could be coils, it could be spark, could be this, it could be that. But cleaning all the connectors will definitely help if anything like that happened, if it got wet or if it got crusty. I lay any money I'll disconnect one of these at some point and show you guys, and it will be crusty. In fact, look, oh come on, zoom. Yeah, it's white, you see, so they need cleaning. They're not actually connecting. If they're white on both sides, they're not actually fully connecting like they're meant to. So I'm going to go over all electrics on this bike. Probably I'll get the airbox in first actually, then I'm going to go through all the electrics, because then we can start looking at firing it up soon. Just want to show you one connector. I've cleaned all these connectors. I've topped up the cooling system just with water, to be fair, because that's all I had. Here's a typical problem. I mean, look at this is the main wiring harness. This is the main power. I opened it to check the fuse, and then look at the connection. I mean, that's going to cause problems. That will cause intermittent running issues. So it's stuff like that that really needs to be checked and cleaned, you know, every couple of years at least. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm going completely over this system. I'm looking for drips on the cooling system. I mean, you'll see some drips, but that's because I just topped it up. So I'm looking for actual drips, as in problems with the hoses and stuff. So I'll keep an eye on that for now. At the moment, wiring is the next thing. I've got the 2 new things set up. What I'm not sure. What I might do is run it off an external tank. Put the airbox in, run it off an external tank for now, while we're going over the electrics. Just see if it fires up. If it just fires once, I'll be happy, and then I can look at everything else, taking off the clutch switch and so on. But you know, there's no point doing all the extra work when you don't know if it fires, which is the point at the moment. So, right, airbox back on. I'm going to put some fuel straight into the carbs and try and fire it once I've done the majority of this wiring here. I've told you this before on the GS500. What works best with the airbox is to not put the carbs back on like I did. I'm an idiot. You pull the carbs out, you tilt them up, you connect the airbox and carbs together, and then you push them all in together, and it seats lovely and perfectly. There's a top tip that I don't even follow myself for you there, so that's good. So that's all now sealed. Obviously I need to put the filter in itself and the side box back on, that's fine, but we're good to go there. Make sure under the airbox there'll be a pipe here, make sure it seals, that one there. That's just an engine breather pipe. If you don't seal that properly, then water gets into the oil, which I'm not sure, that may have happened already. And this is just a breather pipe to the airbox. I'll chuck that in, I have got that, that's the same. Make sure your fuel pipes are out and ready and all connected so that you don't have to mess with the carb anymore. Make sure your carb adjuster, idle adjuster, is free. I've actually taken this one off the carbs for convenience because I know I'm going to play with it. It's just down here, you see that there, so that we can mess with the idle. That can stay there, it doesn't need to be connected to the carbs at all. I freed up the choke was completely seized, that's now freed up. We're going to need that at least for the first startup, and the majority of the electrics have been cleaned and gone over now. So the next step of this is to try and start it. I'm going to put the fuel tank on properly, and I'm going to put in the whole 5 litres of fuel. Get it running through, kind of get it clean, hope that the battery is okay. The charger said it is. I don't see any reason, guys, I don't see why this wouldn't just fire up. What we'll do is we'll pop the clutch switch and we'll use a connecting, here's the clutch switch, should I just pop it now? We will use, let's try cleaning it first, just in case it's as simple, it's caked. Let's have a look while I'm here. Because if it was kind of caked or anything, come on. Then that would explain what was going on anyway. Yeah, it's not, oh come on. Yeah, it's pretty dirty. But what we'll do is we will, look at that, that's bad. So that will cause intermittent starting issues, but we don't need the clutch switch. Just don't start your bike in gear. I will, I'm going to clean that. Should I keep the switch on? No. What I'll do is I'll bridge both sides. I'll bridge left and right and left, and we'll see if the bike starts. I believe Auntie said it doesn't even attempt to start unless the switch is on. So I'll know then by bridging it whether it turns over or not, if that makes sense. So airbox on, battery in, fuel tank on, blah 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 blah, and yes, let's see if we can get it doing something. All the while I keep caking the chain in WD-40 because it desperately needs it. So right, we're on the stand. There's no fuel in the tank yet. The battery is connected. The keys are down here. We can do a couple of things. Let's see if there's any power at all. Okay, so we've got something. There's kind of a water light on there. The clutch switch is disconnected. The switch shouldn't turn. It won't turn, great. That is good to know. I'm going to try connecting that and seeing if... No, I'm not actually. I'm going to bridge these. I'm going to cut and bridge all of them wires so that that's done long term. So that's a good thing at the moment. Look. Now the reason it's a good thing anyway is because we want the pistons to turn up and down. There's no, we don't need to put fuel in yet. We want to hear that the pistons go upside down. If it sounds like it's really struggling, spark plugs, pop spark plugs out, put some two-stroke down in the cylinders, let it wear in a bit, and then kick it over again to stop a top-end seizure, basically. So two things I'm going to do there. I am going to cut them wires, and I'm going to work out what two wires recreate the circuit, wire them together, tape it up, tuck it away. And secondly, turn it over without any fuel at all to just get the pistons loosened up. Thirdly, chuck some fuel in there, make sure the fuel isn't leaking straight out. That's the first thing, off the carbs or off the tank. Secondly, see if it starts up. My money at this stage says it should start up, but you just never know with this stuff. So if anyone's got an er5 and you have any problems with your clutch switch, the wires to cut and wire together are the plain black and the black and yellow. And just to show you that that's right, watch this. Okay, so what you do is you wire them together. Oh, come on. Wire them together, cut the other one down so it can't connect, tape them all up with electrical tape, tuck it away, and that's the full-time fix. That's fixed permanently there. Nice to hear the engine turning over. It turns over fine. When it sounds like it wants to start now and there's no fuel in it, so I have no doubt this is going to fire up. So next step, let me tape that up properly so it's done, and then I'll chuck some fuel in. As long as the fuel isn't pissing out, there's no fuel leaks, nothing like that, this should be good to go. I'm going to set you up from this slight distance. All I'm doing now is throwing fuel in it. All we're looking for is any fuel coming straight back out. Make sure you get it all. So there's no spills at the moment, that's a good thing. I can't see any anyway. I'm going to fire this thing up. Remember, there's no fuel at the moment in the carbs because it works on suction. It should take 10 to 20 seconds to suck enough through. If that happens and works okay, it should then kick to life. It's blatantly going to be a bit smoky in places. I've sprayed WD-40 everywhere. The exhaust will be a bit smoky. I'm not going to run it for long. I'm just going to kind of warm it up a touch and see if it revs properly and normally, which I'm sure it will. If that's the case, I'm not going to run it up to temperature because I want the oil to be drained and changed. I don't think I've got enough here. I'm going to have to wait a few days. But let's see. Fingers crossed. So I think there is fuel in the carbs. I don't think there's an issue there. Next thing here to do is check the spark plugs. Check they're clean and then check that they're sparking. Otherwise it might be trying to fire up on one cylinder. To be fair, it should still fire up on one cylinder. But yeah, so pop the spark plug, see what they're doing, and then check that they are firing. If they are firing, then we have to ask ourselves what else is going on here. Next step for me there would be to run fuel straight into the carbs, straight down into the carbs, and see if we get anything from there. So I'm just going to try and catch people up as to what I did, or we did. John's actually here. So we took off the suction pump as it was leaking and not working. It definitely wasn't putting enough fuel into the chamber. And I've run this system, exactly the same system you can check on my channel from the GS500, which is the 2 fuel pipes into this T piece or Y piece, whatever you want to call it, straight into the carbs. It should all be gravity fed. The only thing you need to check at this stage, which is now, is if the carbs are leaking or overflowing. That would mean your floats and your float bowls aren't actually doing what they need to do. There's no obvious sign of a leak at the moment. We popped the spark plugs. They did need a good clean. They were pretty messed up, but they were sparking. And we did get this bike started and running without any filter at all. So currently I think I'm going to chuck the filter in, bolt that all up. I actually think this will start and sound fairly normal, but as always we're not 100% sure. So this should start up, guys. It should fire and seem to be okay. We're just hooking up John's battery because this battery's gone dead. I don't think it's a terrible battery. I just think I've been cranking it and you know, obviously that caused problems. So let's see. This should fire up and it should seem okay. I hope so, John. Sounds good. I should let it warm up, shouldn't I? Yeah. Doing well. Oh, we took off too early, John. Yeah, let's let it warm up. Oh. Although I don't see now any reason I'll charge that battery again. Oh, it should just fire up every time now. We're just, John's taking the calf for a bit of a spin. I've just adjusted the rear brake so it has some rear brake. It looks so small. It's got such a nice shape to it. Has it got a rear brake?
No.
Yeah. Oh. It looks tiny, John.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, but it's, yeah, so I think you'll get a bit more power down jetting.
Yeah.
You think that pulls right for 250?
Well, sometimes it's worth 250,
Because it's so rich.
it's got power there.
Yeah. So, but no rear brake.
No real brake.
I'll tighten it a bit more.
It's got a fighting, but I think it's all glazed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to order some new shoes for it.
Yeah, I need them.
So that's it for today, guys. Now this is an actual up and running bike. I'm going to store it in the garage so no one nicks it. I've got the battery out anyway, but yeah, it's going to go in the garage. No doubt, if once that battery's charged, this will just fire up every time now. The fuel pump had gone on this bike. It's not a real fuel pump, it's a suction pump system. It was leaking and had gone. They can be rebuilt. I have kept the old one, but it's a pain. The system I've done, the 2-into-1 normal flow, is a route that most people go down. As long as your carbs are working properly, which these are, then there's no issue there at all. But of course, overnight, I'll be looking in the morning to see if there's any leakage. So far, there's no leakage on this bike at all, which is great. Paintwork, I'm not going to touch. I'd go matte black if it was me. I'd take these stickers off, buy some new stickers, any colour you want. I'd go matte black. You just have to be very careful when you're fueling, because if you drop any, it just takes it straight off. I'm going to do my best with this exhaust before next week. Honestly, it's not savable. I think I'm going to get some rust remedy. I'll paste that on, and then some high temp black. We might get another couple of years out of it, you never know. Oil wise, it's over 4. Watch there, watch it rise, watch it rise. Or did I drain some already? Actually, I can't remember. I might have. So it's actually at a good level there, so that's fine, and it wasn't spitting out any weird smoke. Air filter was brand new, spark plugs were cleaned, I just did them myself. Cooling system was topped up with water. What I would do, in fact I might just do it anyway before MOT, is I'll pop this pipe here, drain some out, and I'll put nice good concentrated fluid in so that it's good to go. I'll throw some air in the tyres. I see no reason why this won't pass an MOT on the weekend, so I'll do the exhaust anyway. I'll throw some air in the tyres. I didn't do that. I'm going to clean up any bits I can. I can clean these a bit better. They're not going to look perfect. If I can strip these down, I'd be painting them, the shocks, but I don't think you can. To be fair, I've got some black anyway that I'll be using for the exhaust. I might just chuck some black on them. I'll obviously clean them and treat them and then chuck it on, and that just kind of neatens that up. I'll get some back to black spray for the for any of these, this kind of old plastic. But Rob's auntie is going to do some paintwork herself on this, and I'm definitely going to clean up the chain a bit more. I'm going to spend more time cleaning up the chain. So this is a bike that starts on the button now. To be fair, I didn't put this in gear, did I? I'm definitely going to go over the front brake I'll check the rear brake, I'll tighten it if needed as necessary. I'm definitely going to put it under a jet wash just to give it a good clean, and the aim will be to get its MOT on the weekend. If I'm lucky, I'll get it back to her for the weekend. Them pads, sorry, I'm zooming in, let me just I'm going to pop that caliper anyway and clean it probably tomorrow, because if it needs any pads I can get them for the weekend. So that's it. That's the Kawasaki er5 build, fix, repair, I don't know what to call it. The main problem was wiring. The wiring needed cleaning all over. Secondary problem was the fuel pump weren't pumping enough. It wasn't actually pumping anywhere near enough to get it fired up. Third problem is the spark plugs were caked and crudded. Carbs needed to clean. Fuel tank was empty, so fine now. Rear chain has pretty much had it. I'm hoping the WD soaks through it and it cleans up nicely. It might not. I'm going to check that thoroughly at some point. All the lights, horn, everything else has kind of woke itself up and seems okay, and so on. And it seems to be cooling. One thing I haven't checked is if the fan, does it have a fan? If the fan comes on. So yes, so for my own reference, I need high temp paint, some rust remedy, some rust removing products, and some concentrated coolant. So I'll get that all on order. Anything else? What have I missed? Maybe some brake pads. I'll check tomorrow. Calf racer over there, my one. I absolutely love it. I'm going to do a tiny bit of pinstriping on the tank. Me and John talked about the chrome and the silver, and I'm not sure I'm in two minds, but maybe a bit of pinstriping would be nice, and the smaller indicators and stuff like that. Thanks to Nat for two reasons. For one, making me this Neely pad here, which has been really handy today. Every time I sat down I sat on it. And secondly, for sending me a video of the ZL 600 running and sounding okay, which all I want to see at this stage, Nat, is if you hook up a tank to them carbs now and leave it for 5 to 10 minutes with no air cones, is fuel pissing out? Because that's the bit I couldn't solve. But to be fair, I was lazy. I was using second-hand parts, and you bought a brand new repair kit. If you find that it's not pissing out fuel, your next step is to balance them carbs, and my god, your bike should be ready to go, mate. And yeah, great. Enjoy your rest of the weekend, guys and girls, and anyone out there who's watching. Please share and subscribe if you like the channel, and send me some of your projects. Come and work with me for the day. We'll work on a bike of yours, moped, anything you've got. If it's sitting in the garden and you're close or in London, come and spend the day. We'll work on it together.